You want a war? You're gonna get one.
Now get the guns, the drugs, to my generation, you'll take the fall. The saints, across the nation, and it's a sex, the gods, the fakes, the fraud, they're messing with me. Come on, come on, come on, let's get it out. Move to the music, play that fucking music. Live through my music, yeah.
Reliving the War episode 225, the 28th of February 2000. Raw's in Madison Square Garden tonight in New York City, while Nitro takes place in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We just got done with No Way Out 2000, and Cactus Jack couldn't beat Triple H inside Hell in a Cell. This means Mick Foley has now retired. The Big Show also defeated The Rock thanks to a returning Shane McMahon, so as it stands right now, Big Show's headlining WrestleMania. The excitement for a Triple H vs Big Show match, eh? It's off the charts, ladies and gents. It's announced at the beginning of Nitro that Sid Vicious is going to defend his World Championship against Tank Abbott tonight in the main event. WCW make a big deal out of this by having multiple wrestlers talk about who they think's going to win as the program continues on. You do have to give it to WCW for at least trying to push a new guy into the main event, but Tank Abbott? No thanks. I could name at least 10 guys on the roster who's way more deserving of that spot. Jeff Jarrett gets informed of this title match and old Slapbollock says he doesn't really care. He's getting his title shot at Uncensored and he'll have no problem taking the belt off Abbott if Tank beats Sid later on. This week's jam-up guys are Steve Donaldson and his mate Chris. A few weeks ago the boys drove from Seattle to Vancouver so they could attend Survivor Series and they easily had the best shirts in the entire building that night. Absolute jam masters right here, everyone. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Chris. Let's see what happened on this week's episodes of Raw and Nitro. Oh look, a Triple H promo to kick off Raw. That's new. On Nitro, the Mamalukes take on Lane and Idol. Not much of an opening match here at all from WCW. Within the first minute or so, Miss Hancock made her way down to the commentary table and to once again prove that Lane and Idol made a mistake by leaving standards and practices, she performs a table dance. This makes Johnny the Bull, Disco and Lane stop what they're doing and they pay close attention to Stacy while Big Vito delivers an impaler DDT to Idol. The Mamalukes retain their tag team belts and after the match, Vito invites Stacy into the ring for a dance. Stacy gets her groove on with the Mamalukes and Vito's definitely having a great time right here. But then the Harris brothers run down to beat up our favourite wise guys and they make it clear that they want a shot at the tag team belts. I remember when WCW's tag team division was absolutely unmatched, but now it's not looking so good, is it? I found it funny that the NWO's music played in the arena and everyone looked at the entranceway to see who was coming out. The whole audience totally forgot that Ron and Dawn are a part of the faction because I guess no one wants to believe it. After the bout, Tony Schiavone says Sting's gonna show up tonight. Mark Madden doesn't believe him, but Tony has some great sources, guys. I'm pretty sure we will see the icon a bit later on. Triple H isn't in a great mood tonight. As a matter of fact, he seems a bit down after what happened at No Way Out. Triple H says that he respects Foley, something that Stephanie's even surprised by. And Triple H went through the trouble of getting the production guys to make a tribute video for Mick. The video plays, it starts out innocently enough, but then we see clips of Triple H beating Foley up, clips of Mick wearing shitty underwear, and images of Mick in some questionable poses. Triple H thinks this is awesome, he gets a little giddy as the video plays on the Titantron, and Hunter says the WWF will indeed never be the same without Mick Foley, it's gonna be a million times better. Stephanie calls Mick a smelly, fat, disgusting, retired loser, but she then gets interrupted by her brother Shane and the guy who's going to face Triple H at WrestleMania 2000. McMahon Jr. and the Big Show get in the ring and Shane explains why he returned. He watched Stephanie drive Vince out of the business and he couldn't stay at home and allow this McMahon-Helmsley nonsense to continue on. Shane waited until the right time to make a comeback. He wanted to align himself with the right person, and that person is the Big Show. Shane didn't align himself with The Rock because, according to Shane, Rock's an egomaniac and a prima donna. So he picked the Big Show, yeah. That egomaniac appears on the entrance stage. He calls the four people in the ring the biggest group of assholes he's ever seen in his life. And he also says he's not going to be like the Big Show. He's not going to whine and complain about losing last night at No Way Out. Still, The Rock guarantees that he will go to the WrestleMania 2000 main event and he will become WWF champion. Triple H tells Rock to leave because this was a conversation between the champion and the challenger. The Rock blew his chance and that means he's no longer #1 contender. As a matter of fact, Rock's starting at the very bottom again, and Rock's gonna face New York's finest tonight on Raw, the Brooklyn Brawler. Hell yeah. Hunter says if you smell what the game is playing, and Shane says there's no chance in hell that Rock's going to headline WrestleMania. So there you go, Brooklyn Brawler versus The Rock. We're back to Rocky Maivia being a jobber, and I do hope the Brawler wins later on. Last night, Terry Runnels paid the Acolytes for some protection. The Hardy Boys got beaten up. And in order to get a match against the APA tonight, Matt and Jeff flipped their poker table in the backstage area. That tag team match is up next while Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair cut promos over on Nitro. This backstage Hogan promo is quite a famous one. Hulk went with Jimmy Hart to the hospital after Ric Flair got his hands on the mouth of the South. And no joke, Jimmy could only mutter one word to the Hulkster, and that word was Yapapi. What on earth is Yapapi, and why did Jimmy Hart say the word with what could have been his final breath? Well, Hogan says it all made sense to him because he's challenging Ric Flair to a Yapapi Indian strap match. There is a Native American tribe in Arizona named the Yavapai. There's a limited run of olive oil named Yapapi. Maybe it's this application programming interface known as the Yap API. Who knows what WCW ordered from Sean's Sniff Sniff delivery service, but whatever it was, it made the creative team stupid as fuck. It sounds like any other strap match as Hogan talks about beating Ric Flair in yet another bout between these two. And he says Flair will know what the Yapapi mean when he takes part in this strap match. I think this kinda shows us that Hulk did indeed think Yapapi was some sort of tribe, and they just got the name totally wrong, so way to go, Wood from the Hood. Hogan also says he's going to transform in this match. His eyes are going to roll in the back of his head and smoke's going to come out of his nose. I bet you anything you want, that doesn't happen. Elsewhere in the arena, Dirty Dog Buff Bagwell tried to sweet talk Miss Elizabeth, but Lex Luger and Ric Flair saw footage of this little meeting caught on Billy Kidman's camera. So Team Package head to the ring, and Flair says he took away Hogan's belt after Lex beat the Hulkster up last week inside the cage. Clearly Hogan has a lot of those bad boys, so I'm not sure how bothered he is really. Package says Sting's afraid of him. Lex was fully expecting Sting to show up last week, but he didn't bother, and honestly, I thought Sting was going to show up too. As for Buff Bagwell, Buff thinks he's the stuff, but he's going to get snuffed. The Total Package wants a one-on-one match against Bagwell tonight, and Lex begins ripping into the people of Minnesota, something that prompts Curt Hennig to show up. Curt reminds Lex and Flair that they're currently standing in Gopher Country. He tells Package to lose his Curt Hennig hairdo. Rick doesn't have a match tonight, so Hennig wants to fight him one-on-one. Curt says he made Minnesota famous, and if he can't beat Ric Flair tonight on Nitro, he'll streak butt naked on next week's show. My god, we need Flair to win. On Raw, our tag team match begins with some big risk taking from the Hardy Boys. This gets followed up with some big ass kicking from the Acolytes. Matt takes a big boot from Bradshaw while Jeff takes a fallaway slam, though Jeff countered a Dominator from Farouk before getting a blind tag to brother Matt. Bradshaw didn't see Matt coming into the ring, and our match ends with a twist of fate. The Hardy Boys beat the Acolytes on Raw. Let's move on. Kurt Angle issues an open challenge for his European title next on Raw. On Nitro, we've got Billy Kidman versus Booker. Booker's annoyed that Kidman proved to be a terrible tag team partner on Thunder this past week. Kidman let Booker get beaten up by the Harris brothers because he was too busy tending to his girlfriend. Right now, Kidman seems a bit more worried about the whereabouts of his smutty home camcorder, and when our match begins, Booker brings young Billy to the corner and he gives him a good old talking to. This is way worse than getting punched in the face. It's like getting told off for not respecting your elders. Booker performs a Samoan drop followed by a back elbow. He then tries a pop-up move, but Kidman reverses with a victory roll. Booker stays on his opponent though, and moments later we see the axe kick. The match then ends when the Harris brothers run down. It's amazing how these guys aren't getting any reaction at all. The fans aren't cheering, they're not booing, it's just nothing. Tori gets knocked off the apron, Billy's hurt his bird, and Charles Robinson sees this as the perfect opportunity to get close to Miss Wilson just to see if she's okay. Terrible match right here from two good competitors. Again, this kinda feels like a Russo Nitro, but Vince Russo is not here. Maybe Kevin Sullivan was listening to Ed Ferrara a bit too much, but if this keeps up, this could be the Nitro that breaks me. Having the end goal this week being a Tank Abbott vs Sid match is not my idea of a good time, and I can only imagine how many people switched Nitro off already after just 30 minutes of runtime. It's a terrible, terrible wrestling show. So who's going to accept Kurt Angle's Olympic challenge tonight on Raw? It's Big Rikishi. Rikishi Fatu has a chance of becoming European champion, but don't get your hopes up. This one ends pretty abruptly. Kurt takes a body slam followed by a leg drop. He then avoids a stink face by going after Rikishi's injured ankle, but still the big man stays resilient and Kurt finds himself in position for the stink face once again. Our Olympic hero gets shit smeared all over his face, and this is enough to make Angle leave the ring. He grabs a microphone. He says the fans came here to see a wrestling match and not to see Rikishi's butt in Kurt's face, but Angle gets interrupted by Jericho in China. Calling the Eurocontinental champion Kurt Angel, Chris says he wants to see Angle get stink-faced again, so Kurt gets thrown in the ring where he takes the Rikishi driver. Big Keish goes upstairs, he delivers a bonsai drop, but the match is already over and Rikishi won't be leaving the garden tonight as European champion. The Radicals run down to get a piece of Rikishi, Jericho and China. Too Cool then run down to even the odds, and even though Rikishi got the better of Angle here, the Olympic gold medalist leaves with his championship belt. To celebrate, Jericho and China join in for the Too Cool dance. They even get their very own Too Cool shades. And the crowd loves seeing Jericho and China get down with Rikishi, Grandmaster Sexay and Scotty Too Hottie. After a commercial break, Saturn gets in Jericho's face. Chris calls Saturn a cross-eyed freak. And a match between these two gets booked for later on. We're going to see Saturn and Jericho inside a WWF ring tonight on Raw. Al Snow and Steve Blackman take on Edge and Christian next on Raw. On Nitro, it's Brian Knobbs versus 3 Count. Before our Nitro match, Norman Smiley says Dustin Rhodes was out of line last week after what he did to Terry Funk. Norman's inspired by Terry and it was one of the reasons why he wanted to become Hardcore Champion. So Smiley's challenging Dustin to a match later tonight on Nitro. Back in the ring, this was supposed to be Evan Courageous versus Brian Knobbs, but Evan challenged the complete tit to face all 3 members of 3 Count while also putting his hardcore title on the line. Why anyone would agree to this is an absolute mystery, but Brian Knobbs himself is kinda like a mystery, as in we don't know why he gets booked so often every Monday night. Standard WCW hardcore match here, meaning it's 90% trash cans, 5% kendo sticks, 4% tables, and 1% actually decent to watch. The best spot of the match was this powerbomb right here from Brian, but this was at the very end of the bout. Shannon Moore jumps off the apron and he smacks Brian with another trash can shot, and this was enough for 3 Count to get the win, meaning all 3 members are now hardcore champions. Backstage, Brian demands a rematch from the booking committee while Fit Finlay challenges 3 Count to a 6-man tag on Thunder. Mean Gene says there's only 2 of these guys and Finlay says no, there's 3. Brian says it's time to bring out the dog, and it's not the dog-faced gremlin. It's let's just wait the next week. On Raw, Terry Runnels comes out to watch this tag team match. She's carrying a large object in a black bag, and remember, Terry tried to get all friendly with Edge and Christian last night after their match against the Hardy Boys. Al Snow comes out and he once again has something lined up for Steve Blackman. Steve may need a personality to get over with these people, but he also needs a sick new entrance, something that will capture the fans' imagination.
They are, what is...
Nowhere near as good as Cold as Ice, but not bad at all. Blackman takes it out on Christian as he gets in the ring. It settles down to Edge and Al Snow, but Edge easily gets the better of his opponent. Terry explains that she left the Hardy Boys because they didn't visit her enough in hospital, and we then see some good double team work from Edge and Christian. Remember too that these boys are getting a tag team title shot at WrestleMania 2000. When Blackman tags in, the crowd chants, "Let's go head cheese," but this kind of mockery only makes Blackman mad. You fans have no idea what you're doing right now, and this is all going to boil over at WrestleMania 2000. Trust me. Snow and Blackman have the #1 contenders in a bad spot, but things go wrong when Terry pulls out some cheese from her bag and she sticks it on her head. This infuriates Sensei Blackman, and he's just about to unleash Shin Blackman for the first time ever, but he ends up taking a dropkick and a spear from Edge and Christian. Steve gets pinned, the match is over, and while Blackman comes to terms with getting trolled by Terry, Edge and Christian wonder exactly what Mrs. Runnels' game is. On Raw next, we've got two jobbers squaring off as Rocky Maivia takes on the Brooklyn Brawler. On Nitro, it's Norman Smiley versus Dustin Rhodes. Dustin tries to bully Norman at the opening bell, but Smiley's having none of it. Smiley fears no man, and he proves this by slapping the former Goldust's ass in the middle of the ring. Once upon a time, Dustin would have loved this, but not now. Norman throws his opponent out of the ring, but when the two get back inside, Dustin takes over. Tony Schiavone calls Dustin the American Dream 2000 right here, which is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life. And Tony also announces a Dustin Rhodes versus Terry Funk match taking place at Uncensored. Norman performs a Smiley slam. He gives the fans a big wiggle that really pissed Dustin off. The two fight on the outside again, with Rhodes doing all the damage. And Mark Madden also calls Dustin American Dream 2000. Thankfully, this little nickname would soon get changed, and Dustin would become known as, wait for it, the American Nightmare. The match ends with a top rope clothesline from Dustin. Norman gets a football helmet right to the balls after the match, and what more can I say, our boy didn't deserve this. Jeff Jarrett gets informed that he has to defend his US title next against Vampiro. Jeff thinks this is a conspiracy by the WCW booking committee, but we're going to find out what the chosen one is all about. Vampiro, meanwhile, talks about sharing his pain inside the ring or something, I don't know. This lad needs a few hookers and he needs to lighten up a bit. Over on Raw, The Rock vs Brooklyn Brawler went for about 30 seconds. The Great One gave the Brawler a kicking on the ramp before the match got officially underway, and all it took were a few punches followed by a rock bottom for Rock to pick up the victory. After the match, Rock says he's not leaving. Triple H thought Rocky would have his match and leave the arena, but Rock wants to fight the WWF Champion right now. Hunter comes out, he's ready to go at it, but he gets stopped by Shane McMahon, and Shane tells Hunter not to get in the ring because this is just another ploy to get the champion to agree to a title match. Shane says Triple H doesn't need to fight The Rock because he's going to fight Big Show in the WrestleMania main event, to which Rock responds, WrestleMania is going to suck if it's headlined by the Game in the Big Show. He does have a point, you know. The heels have a little meeting before coming up with a plan. Stephanie says if Rock can pin either Triple H or the Big Show tonight in a 2-on-1 match, then he will get his title match at WrestleMania. Though clearly Shane McMahon isn't too happy with Stephanie's announcement. Still, Triple H remains confident. If Rock can't pin Hunter or Show tonight, then Rock won't get another title opportunity ever again as long as he's employed by the WWF. The Rock agrees. This 2-on-1 match is going to be our Raw main event, so WrestleMania 2000 could look very different when tonight's show comes to an end. Jericho vs Saturn takes place next on Raw. On Nitro, it's Vampiro vs Jeff Jarrett. This would have been a great opportunity to move the US belt on the Vampiro, seeing as Double J is now heavily involved in the main event scene in WCW, but unfortunately, old Vampy Balls couldn't get the job done. Once again, the Harris brothers interfered, though this time they were taken out pretty easily. Once Vampiro dealt with Ron and Don Harris, Big Sid came out to chase the bald buffoons away from the ring, and then Vampiro forgot how to do his nail in the coffin finisher, instead opting for a body slam before covering Jarrett. The referee got distracted, Nick Patrick went to check on Sid, and then Vampiro got hit with the US belt, only this was totally missed by the cameras. This kind of stuff seems to... you know what, never mind, it speaks for itself really. Vampiro kicks out at 2, he goes up for a leg drop, but Jeff moves out of the way. The Chosen One then performs the stroke and Double J retains his US belt. Crappy finish, bad production, not the outcome I would have went with, but I guess that's more subjective than anything else. Backstage, the Mamalukes give some random bozo a job. He has to deliver this package to the Harris brothers. A bit later on, Ron and Don receive the box and it has a note attached. The Mamalukes are giving these two knobheads a shot at the tag team belts at Uncensored, and inside the box is a dead fish. This right here, this image, it perfectly captures the spirit of WCW in the year 2000. A smelly, rotten, stinking, dirty fish, once swimming with the big boys and now dead as fuck lying on the ground. Jericho and Saturn got about 3 minutes of action over on Raw. A shame too, seeing both guys can go, and they also work really well against each other, as proven by their WCW matches. Remember Jericho making Saturn wear a dress? Yeah, it seems like a lifetime ago. Dean Malenko pulled the middle rope down when Jericho went for the lion salt. He then attacked Jericho on the outside, and Chyna wasn't safe either. Chyna gets clocked before getting thrown in the ring, and she takes a back suplex from Perry before Chris wakes up. The match resumes, and moments later Chyna runs in to hit a low blow on Perry. This gets followed up with a lion salt from Chris, and Jericho beats Saturn via pinfall. Nothing special really. Backstage, Billy Gunn's not happy about X-Pac teaming up with the Road Dogg tonight. Road Dogg and Pac are facing the Dudleys for the tag team belts, but clearly Billy's in no shape to perform. He got injured last night at No Way Out. Triple H shows up. He says Edge and Christian may be the #1 contenders, but DX have made an executive decision that will give the group an opportunity to win back the tag belts, but Billy won't be performing. He's too hurt. BA gets in Triple H's face. He says he's twice as good as Triple H, even with one arm. And so DX jumped Mr. Gunn, and it looks like Billy is now out of the faction. Quite a surprising turn of events here, but Billy gets thrown out the door, and D-Generation X are going to move forward without Mr. Ass. Mark Henry versus Crash Holly is next on Raw. On Nitro, it's David Flair versus The Artist, plus Ernest Miller versus The Maestro. Holy mid-card bullshit, Batman. What a pair of sorry matches we've got here on Nitro.
That's going to be a good little piece of business.
Gotta say though, what happened before the David Flair match is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. And look, just look at this. David's dancing with the Nitro girls like an absolute maniac, and I think he's got the hots for each and every one of them.
He's an animal!
An animal! An animal!
It's all fun and games until your missus shows up holding a crowbar and looking like she wants to rip your head off. Though thankfully, David Flair is one smooth operator and he's able to get back into Daphne's good books by kissing her feet. Clearly, David's done this before, to his dad when Rick found his secret stash under the bed. David laughs at the artist. I mean, who wouldn't? And Ikea gets smacked in the face to get the match underway. We see a sick clothesline from Nature Boy Jr., but he soon found himself in a bad spot. Not surprising, really. David gets a little help from both Daphne and Crowbar. The Prince takes a spectacular bump here, but he's still kicked out of David's cover. In the end, Daphne and Paisley end up having a little scuffle, and this puts David off his game. The diving DDT gives the artist a win on Nitro, but it doesn't matter. David already won thanks to that dance before the match. Sid Vicious has been attacked backstage. Oh no, there's a broken guitar on the ground and Sid's been advised not to compete in tonight's main event. After a commercial break, Sid interrupts Mean Gene to say he is going to compete tonight, but the big man has problems standing up. He's a bit woozy. He's not at 100%, but I bet he still leaves Nitro tonight with the World Championship. The cat comes out for his match against the Maestro and he reminds everyone that he brought James Brown to Super Brawl. He shows a replay of James' appearance on the big screens, and then Ernest gives us a little dance in the ring. A lot of dancing this week on Reliving the War. The Maestro comes out with some seriously fucked up hair, and that's because he's had to listen to the cat's music on Symphony's little boombox. And why does Symphony look so happy? Her man's having a mental breakdown right now. The match gets underway and the cat performs a DDT. Symphony then puts a mic to the stereo and 3 counts "Can't Get You Out of My Heart" plays from the speakers. Miller looks a bit confused and Maestro uses this opportunity to smack Miller with his crappy little sound system, and the Maestro defeats Miller via pinfall. Swear to God, this guy pulls off some seriously weird faces. Scary stuff tonight on Monday Nitro. Oh yeah, Fit Finlay attacked Vampiro backstage. I guess Fit's still angry about Vampiro beating him last week, but admit it, you totally forgot about that match until I reminded you of it just now. Young Crash Holly beat Test on SmackDown to become the new hardcore champion. The belt is on the line in this matchup, and Henry manhandled Crash in the ring and around ringside for the majority of the bout. Mae Young wanted to try her luck and she got in the ring for a splash, but Mae goes down after the move and Mark Henry begs doctors to come out and help. EMTs, Jerry Briscoe, Pat Patterson, and that old bastard Fabulous Moolah come out to help Mae onto a stretcher. And then we go backstage. Oh my god, here we go. It looks like Mae's about to give birth. She wants a cigar, Pat Patterson gives her a light, and the doctor asks Mark Henry if he really believes he got this woman pregnant. After a commercial break, Mae famously gives birth to a hand, something that confused wrestling fans no end. Many people thought it was just a simple joke so Patterson could say, "Let's give Mae a hand." But listen to Davey Boy Meltzer's explanation, and I challenge you to do your own research afterwards. At first, I had no idea what this was. Luckily, I do a radio show. Someone explained that hands were popular sex toys back in the 70s and 80s for women. I guess the idea was she was getting herself off in another decade, and it had been up there for a while. Oh, Jesus Christ. On Raw next, we've got Tazz versus Chris Benoit. On Nitro, we've got Curt Hennig versus Ric Flair. There's a ridiculous amount of potential in this Raw match, but unfortunately, the potential isn't met. What we get is decent, but again, it's way too short. Just like at the Royal Rumble 2 months ago, MSG loves Tazz and the whole crowd chant ECW for the majority of the match. Benoit performs a snap suplex, Tazz replies with a head and arm Tazzplex, and then Eddie Guerrero gets on the apron to keep the referee busy. The match resumes with Tazz pulling off an Alabama slam, but again Eddie Guerrero gets on the apron and Tim White gets distracted. The official tells Eddie to get back up the ramp. Guerrero has no choice but to leave. The match gets going again with Benoit trying his consecutive German suplexes. Tazz counters here and he locks in the Tazz mission. But Bossman and Albert show up and we've got a DQ finish. Benoit helps these two beat up Tazz a little as the crowd boos. And just like at No Way Out, Tazz tries to fight his attackers off, but he has no luck. Albert performs his fireman's neckbreaker again, kinda looks like a TKO. And after the beatdown, Bossman shouts, "The mood's about to change," in Tazz's face. You guys know how I feel about Tazz's run so far in the WWF, I don't need to harp on about it, but this match here, in Madison Square Garden, just goes to further prove my point really. On Nitro, we get a nice early Flair flop after Rick takes a punch to the face. We go to the other side of the ring for a back body drop, and then Hennig targets the Nature Boy's knees. Slick Rick comes back with a poke to the eyes before trying a few chops in the corner, but Curt gives as good as he gets before sending Nate up and over the turnbuckles. We're just going through the motions here as Curt launches Rick from the top rope, and when Nick Patrick tries to stop Curt's mounted punches, he gets slapped in the face. This gets followed up with our referee taking a bump in the corner, and Hennig pulls off the perfect plex, but we of course have no official. The total package comes down to break up the cover. He doesn't hang around to help out Flair afterwards, he and Liz just head back up the ramp, and so Curt's able to go out and grab a chair, but he's unable to actually use it. The referee takes the chair away, Hennig takes a low blow, and Ric Flair wins via pinfall. Not great from these two legends right here, and the whole match was completely phoned in. Rick whips Curt after the bell with Hulk Hogan's weight belt. Let's see if he can do the same when he faces Hogan in the Yapapi strap match. WCW may be in the toilet, but it's still kinda fun watching the train wreck continue on. Also, let's see if Curt Hennig lives up to his word. I fully expect to see a streaker next week on Nitro. The Dudley Boyz defend their tag team belts against X-Pac and the Road Dogg next on Raw. On Nitro, we've got Buff Bagwell versus the Total Package. Lex couldn't find his baseball bat before the match, and that can only mean one thing. He probably left it at home. Buff Bagwell's got himself in trouble once again for being a perverted deviant, and Lex wastes no time teaching Buff Daddy a lesson. The two go outside where Lex chokes his opponent out with some cord. When the two get back in the ring, the crowd chants Luger sucks as Lex performs a few elbow drops. Package then applies a camel clutch, and after breaking free, he applies it once again. It's been a while since we've had 3 submission holds repeated in one match, and unfortunately Luger doesn't apply a third here as Bagwell fights back. Buff delivers an atomic drop, a clothesline, and a swinging neckbreaker. He then delivers a Vader bomb before going for a cover, but Liz puts Lex's foot on the bottom rope. Buff goes after Liz, but Lex's buddy Ric Flair comes out to get a piece of Bagwell, and Buff does pretty well in taking both men out, but it doesn't take long for Team Package to turn things around. Just before Bagwell gets completely wrecked, the Stinger shows up holding his baseball bat. Lex doesn't notice Sting's here as he goes to break Bagwell's arm, but Sting gives Lex a little doink with his baseball bat. And the crowd enjoys seeing Sting get a little revenge on his old best friend. More bat shots follow before Lex gets himself out of the ring. The Stinger has finally returned to Monday Nitro, and he gives Bagwell a hug in the ring before Nitro takes a break. Does this mean Buff's a babyface again? Did he actually turn heel at one point? I don't know. Are the dudes who creep on women backstage supposed to be the good guys? I'm confused. On Raw, the commentators can't get over Mae Young giving birth to a hand. JR and King are completely bamboozled, as was the whole wrestling world on this night. The Dudleys started off strong here with some double moves on Road Dogg, but when Bubba set Rhodey up for the Dudleys headbutt, Devon must have said, "Nah, not right now bro," and Bubba just punched Jesse in the dick instead. Devon comes in with his spinning back elbow, he then wrenches down on Road Dogg's neck. Quick tags from the Dudley Boyz keep the champions in control, but Road Dogg fights back with a dancey punch to Devon. When it's time for the hot tag, the crowd do not cheer for X-Pac at all. He comes in with a lot of fire and his spinning back kicks are all on point, but the crowd chant X-Pac sucks, and this is particularly noteworthy here seeing as DX are working this match as babyfaces. Kid delivers a Bronco Buster, but then Kane's pyro goes off and this is the end of our match. X-Pac runs away before Kane can get a hold of him, so the Big Red Machine delivers chokeslams to Road Dogg, Devon and Bubba Ray Dudley. It appears that the Kane and X-Pac feud is going to continue on, and I think at this point it's making fans dislike X-Pac more than it's building Kane up as a babyface. Kane may have already peaked here in terms of his popularity, whereas fans seem to enjoy booing X-Pac more than cheering for the babyfaces. In contrast to Triple H's little video earlier on, the WWF played a proper tribute video celebrating Mick's run in the company, and it's not bad. It isn't narrated, the music is a little too whimsical maybe, but it's still a nice little overview of Mick's work in the WWF. Mick Foley really is done as a full-time performer. He expected No Way Out to be his final match, but we'll be seeing Mick again a lot sooner than you may think. Our Raw main event features The Rock taking on The Big Show and Triple H in a 2-on-1 match. On Nitro, we've got Sid Vicious versus Tank Abbott. This episode of Nitro has been truly brutal, and this is a main event that you just know won't be able to save it. It does hurt me quite a lot because I remember being so amped up to watch Nitro every week all over again during the glory days of this series. Like, it makes me angry that the people in charge fail to keep momentum, never mind build further momentum. It's just one stupid mistake after another. Tank Abbott comes down on a motorbike, so by default he's now a biker Michael-liker. Congratulations. Sid, meanwhile, is still feeling the effects of that off-screen guitar shot, though Shivani says Jeff Jarrett has left the arena. Sid's ribs are also taped up due to a match he had against Lex Luger on Thunder, but Tank goes in for the kill and he tells the champ he's going to sleep as he applies the chancery. Robinson said this is an illegal choke, so Tank lets go. Sid's still dazed and confused as he gets punched out of the ring. Tank then scoops the big man up before slamming him down again, and Tank then stands on Sid's back while pulling his hair. Proper MMA stuff right here, folks. We stay on the mat for another little while as it looks like Sid has no fight left in him at all. Tank talks a little trash to the champion in the corner, more punches to the ribs follow, but Tank then decides to talk trash to the audience and he doesn't see Sid coming with a sleeper hold. The two go to the mat, the champ then applies a crossface, and that's it over. Tank Abbott, the king of one-punch knockouts, taps out in one of the absolute worst main events I've ever watched on Monday Nitro. They had the cheek to build this up all night only for it to be absolutely terrible. On Raw, Rock has to deal with both Triple H and Big Show, but he's going to give it his best shot. Triple H steps up first and Hunter's easily taken out by The Rock. The champ gets sent out of the ring and Rock also knocks Big Show off the apron, but Rocky then makes the mistake of bringing the fight to the rampway and this allows the heels to get the upper hand. Big Show puts Rock back in the ring, the game pulls off a neck breaker, in comes Big Show with a backbreaker followed by a leg drop, and after Hunter comes back in for a choke in the corner followed by a suplex, the Big Show drops an elbow on the People's Champ. Rock tries to build a comeback, he gets cut off right away. Triple H delivers his Harley Race knee, and moments later we see the facebreaker knee smash. The bad guys were in a really good position to win this thing, but the Big Show ends up accidentally hitting his tag team partner, and this gives Rock the break he needs. Big Show takes a DDT, Triple H takes a spinebuster, Shane McMahon gets knocked off the apron, and there it is, rock bottom. Triple H is in position for a people's elbow and the crowd lose it when Rock delivers his move. However, when Rock covers the WWF Champion, Shane McMahon runs in to break up the cover, and an arm match in disqualification. Remember, Rock had to pin either Big Show or Triple H to get his WWF title shot at WrestleMania, and the finish of this match means we're still looking at a Triple H vs Big Show main event in 5 weeks' time. To add insult to injury, Shane delivers a low blow to Rocky and he takes him down with a clothesline, and Raw ends with the Big Show performing a chokeslam. Not a great main event, but still leagues better than Nitro's effort. Raw wins Reliving the War this week. Absolutely no surprises here, and I don't need to go into any kind of detail. You saw what happened, you saw how bad it was. Raw wasn't great either, but again, compared to Nitro, it was brilliant. We're now really on the road to WrestleMania, and the WWF are putting up a lot of question marks in regards to who's going to compete at the biggest event of the year. The intrigue alone will keep fans coming back during the build-up, and this is a smart tactic that still works very effectively in modern times. Raw's now on 125 points, Nitro's on 78, and we've got 22 ties. In a few weeks, Nitro won't be able to catch up with Raw, and that means we could be declaring the Reliving the War winner very soon, although the series will continue on until WrestleMania next year. In the TV ratings, Raw scored a 6.5, Nitro scored an abysmal 2.1, and I'm really not surprised. The show was bad, and why they decided to promote a Tank Abbott vs Sid main event so heavily during our number 1 is beyond me. Not since 95 and 96 have we seen numbers this low from WCW, and as usual, the higher ups are going to press the panic button once again. Next week on Raw, tensions begin to rise between Triple H, Stephanie, The Big Show and Shane McMahon. Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle have a No Way Out rematch, and we've got Chris Benoit competing in a main event steel cage match. On Nitro, Terry Funk returns to confront Dustin Rhodes. We've got a Ric Flair vs Curt Hennig rematch because the first match was so good. And the great David Flair takes on The Wall. As a matter of fact, The Wall competes twice next week. Make of that what you will. Thank you for watching, folks. There may be some miserable stuff going down right now in the Monday Night War, but at least I've got you guys helping me through it. I'll see you all next week, hopefully, and please take care.